Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. And what we're going to do today is make a cake. But this particular cake is sweetened only by using unsweetened applesauce. Now, if you want to use regular applesauce that has sugar in it, feel free. But this particular cake, I like to call it really my unsweetened or sugarless cake or sugar-free cake. And I know that this applesauce is still considered, you know, it gives sugar. So please don't write me any angry notes or letters that I've gotten in the past. But when you're saying sugarless or sugar-free, is that what I mean by is that I'm not putting any you know, granulated sugar in it or powdered sugar. The only thing that's the sweetener is a fruit, but in this case it is you know, unsweetened applesauce. So in saying that, I want to get started, and I want to tell you first off, I do not put the I no longer rather put the recipe below the video, and I'm sorry about that, and I'll explain later. But let's first talk about the pan. It is a 13 by 9. You don't have to grease it other than just spray it with your favorite oil spray. Or if you want to use your parchment paper, you know, feel free to do that too. But it's going to produce a 13 by 9 cake. Let's start with the dry ingredients, and hopefully I'm going to go through clearly enough and slowly enough that if you're jotting down the recipe, you're going to be able to get that. So first off, you're going to need is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. That was 2 cups. You're also going to be putting in is baking soda, and you're going to be putting 2 teaspoons of baking soda in your flour, and I'm just going to give it a little whisk here, a little stir. You're also going to be putting in a teaspoon of salt, and again just give it a little quick stir. You're going to be needing cinnamon, so you'll want to put 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And you can see this recipe is really quick. It's easy. I mean, everything comes like in 2 really. And the next thing is 1 teaspoon of ginger. Now, if you don't have ginger, ground ginger, or you don't like ginger, then just put the additional in cinnamon and you'll be fine. But you might like the ginger because it gives it kind of that extra spice taste to it. And then just combine it. You don't have to spend a lot of time, but just, you know, get those dry ingredients ready for you to go. Now you can use your hand mixer, certainly. I'm using my stand-up because it's quicker for the video, I think. I'm also going to warn you about the sound because this mixer can sound very loud to you, so I'll warn you before I start it so that you can make whatever necessary adjustments to lower your sound, okay? So let's talk about the wet ingredients. The next thing is what we talked about early in the beginning of the video, is using unsweetened applesauce. Now you're going to need 2 cups of that. Again, if you feel free, you want to use the sweetened, the cake will come out really delicious too. But again, I really prefer this because it's the unsweetened version, and you know, you're not putting that refined sugar, you know, in the recipe. So that was 2 cups of unsweetened applesauce, whatever brand, whatever kind that you like. The next thing we're going to do is put in, we need 4 eggs at room temperature, and I'm just going to kind of beat one in at a time. So again, I'm going to warn you about the sound, and we'll put one in at a time. Beaten in, spend a few minutes just so that they will turn out very light and fluffy and real pale yellow in color. I'm just moving it along due to the video, but it is well combined. The next thing you're going to need is oil. And on the oil, I want you to pick the type, because that's so debatable too. Some people don't like vegetable oil, some people don't like canola oil, whatever. You decide what the type of oil that you would like to put in this recipe, okay? And that is 1 cup of oil, all right? One cup of oil. All right. The next thing that you're going to be putting is vanilla, and you need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then just beat this together. And I'm going to raise my speed, so warn you about the sound. And then spend a minute or two, whatever it is, depending on what you're using, whether you're using a hand mixer or a stand-up, the speed. Just make sure that it's blended well, okay? So now we're going to start bringing in the dry ingredients, and we're going to add 2 more ingredients to our list. There's a raisin with a big stem in there. I want to get that out of there. You're going to be needing 2 cups of oats, of oatmeal. Now you can use the quick oats if you want. I'm just using the regular, but 2 cups of the oats. And you're also going to need 2 cups of raisins. Now use whatever type of raisin you want. If you want to use the golden raisins instead of the dark, feel free. I like the dark in particular, but you decide on that. Now this recipe too does call, and you can add nuts of your choice. Walnuts are really, I think, the best for it, but you can use whatever type of nuts you want. And you would need 1 cup of chopped nuts. Now I'm not putting them in today because this particular cake is, well, it's being made for someone that cannot eat nuts. So, but again, this is a cake, a beautiful cake, when you do use that 1 cup of chopped nuts, whatever that you prefer, okay? So, I'm going to start putting in the dry to the wet, just mixing it really, not so much to beat it, just to mix it. And then I'm going to add some of my oats. And then go back to the dry, and I guess you can see I'm just doing just a little at a time until you get it all combined. Alright, that's the end of the dry and the oats. And then of course, once this is combined, and I'm going to raise my speed just up to make sure it's beaten in well, so warn you about the sound. Okay, and you don't want to really overbeat it either, because I always worry that things get kind of tough or heavy, and the product gets kind of, the texture changes. And then I'm just going to add my raisins. Again, I'm going to turn it up just to make sure they're evenly distributed and well mixed. So warn you about the sound. Okay. So then our pan is ready. It's been sprayed. And your raisins. Okay, I'm going to get my paddle out of here and take off the excess. Now, I know some people might, you know, ask me the question, should you soak your raisins, you know? And some people like to add a little bit of water and to moisten the raisins to plump them up. You could do that. I, again, prefer not to in this recipe, that kind of thing, because I'm worried about the moisture being a little too much. But again, if you want to try that and experiment with it, then, you know, feel free. But I generally don't add water ahead to the raisins to plump them up. I like that. I like that a little bit drier texture to the cake. Okay, now when you bake this cake, though, your kitchen will smell so good because you're smelling the ginger and the cinnamon. Oh, and the applesauce. And then just pour it into your pan. And then we're going to level it off, of course. And I really want to get everything out because, as we all know, ingredients are so expensive these days. And the cost of the ingredients, you just don't want to waste anything. So I really like to take the time and clean out that bowl with my spatula. And then I'm just going to even it out in this 9 by 13 pan. Okay. I don't really tap this cake. You certainly could do so if you feel you want to tap your pan before it goes in the oven. But again, I don't find it necessary to do so. Okay, so there you have it. Now you're going to preheat your oven at 375 degrees. And it, you know, could take you anywhere from 18 to 22 to even maybe 25 minutes. You know, our oven's set up so differently. So you know best how the temperatures in your oven is. But you know, you don't want to overbake this cake either, because you don't want it to be dry and crusty and you know, it'll lose its moisture, and I don't think you're going to like it. So you don't want to overbake it. So I really start checking mine, gosh, at probably, you know, like 20 minutes or so, something like that. I try to take a peek at it, and then use your toothpick or your cake tester to see that, you know, that it's been baked. But you don't want to overbake it. That's the best way to put it to you, okay? When the comes out of the oven, though, put your cake pan on your cooling rack and, you know, let it just kind of cool down a little bit. Because if you go ahead and start to cut it too soon, it just will break up. I mean, it's going to taste delicious, but it's going to break up. So, and as far as toppings, feel free to however you'd like to top it. But I just actually leave it plain. I have a family member that likes to sprinkle on her piece like the sweeteners on top, and she likes to do that. But other than that, it's really delicious on its own. It's fantastic to just eat it when it's warm, or put it in the microwave for a very short time. And oh, it's delicious warm with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, that kind of thing. So I'm going to rinse my hands real quick because I was working with raw eggs, and then I'd like to show you the finished product and how it turns out. And it will look like this. Now what I did was I actually just cut a portion of the 13 by 9 into pieces so you'd be able to see it, okay? By the way, this cake freezes well beautifully, but wrap it really well with your plastic wrap and then put it in a sealed Ziploc plastic bag or whatever plastic containers that you have that are airtight. And I'm able to freeze it up to, well, just about a month or a month and a half, and just let it sit out to defrost. I usually don't put it in the microwave. I just let it sit on a dish on my countertop till it unthaws, but it's great for freezing. And let's see, I'm going to show you the texture of it. Now I will have a picture though of the finished whole cake in the pan for you. So but this way it shows you, you know, the slice. And when you eat it, it'll have a very moist, soft, light crumb to it. You'll see those beautiful raisins inside of it and your oatmeal. And again, if you add those nuts, that's gonna, you know, also be in your batter. You know, it'll have that beautiful texture of nuts in it. But it is a moist and light. I don't know if you could see me as I'm squeezing it though, how very moist and light it is. It's not heavy, it's not dense. It is a great tasting cake where you're not using processed sugar, where your main sugar is coming from the fruit, which is your unsweetened applesauce. So I hope you try this recipe, and if you like it, please, you know, ring the bell, or gee, I would love, well, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel also. By the way, real quick, so I can explain about not putting the recipe. I'm sorry that I don't do that, but I'm not alone on this. It's just that I always tell people, if you try this recipe, you know, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, or if you got a question. Well, I found my work being posted and pinned on different sites, and it's so frustrating to see people that take the time, they're kind enough to watch my video, and then take the time to write to me, and I can't answer them. So I solely put my videos only on YouTube. So if you're going to write to me or comment about it or have a question, I'm going to be able to answer you because you are on YouTube. So again, try this recipe and let me know how you liked it or how it turned out for you. So again, I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.